Heidi, and hello, everybody, and to our special guest. Welcome to Voices from the LAOboratory. This is a podcast that centers the experiences of Lao diaspora women, sharing our passions, our joys, and creativity. And today I have my friend, one of my newer but very dear friends, Houa Moua. Houa, welcome. And would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, I'm Hua. Um, I am a Hmong woman. I when I do these things, I like to introduce, describe myself. So I am a Hmong woman. You can't see it, but I'm sitting in a wheelchair right now. Um, I am a disabled artist, disabled comedian. I have salt and pepper, armpit length hair, and I'm wearing a green t-shirt. Yes.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself and also for modeling and embodying accessibility in the realm of technology for us. And so you are our first Hmong American woman. I think it's very special that you are here. So I would love for you to describe what is your relationship with Laos or Laoness? How do you relate to the place and also the idea, the concept of Laos?
Um. So my yes, I am Hmong. My parents are were born and raised in Laos, the mountains of Laos. Because my parents talk about it so much, and they talk about it like it's this, grand place that they, still to this day want to live and die in. It's almost a mythical place to me. My parents, I don't even think they really know where exactly they are from, like where they were born.
Hmm.
But many Hmong diaspora came from this place called Sinquan.
Hmm.
Yes. And I think that's like where the Hmong military base was. So like Hmong people from everywhere kind of came and communed there
Hmm.
until the end of the war or something.
Hmm. And are you familiar with the significance of Xiang Huang, like in terms of history and just like what do you know about Xiang Huang?
I don't I don't not really familiar with the history. I only know that that's kind of where the Plain of Jars is.
Hmm.
That's all I know. The Plain of Jars.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that is really what it's known for. I was lucky my first trip to Laos, I got to go to Xiang Huang. It's not easy to travel to because the roads in Laos are very they're, like, windy, there's no highways, lots of potholes, and they're actually getting worse because of the commercialism that goes through,
Mm,
but there are multiple planes of jars, so I got to go to, like, 3 different sites, right, and it does seem very magical, so when you say, like, mythical, I could see how your parents would describe it that way because I felt like I was in a fairy tale at some points, you know? And then, like, to contrast that with the bombings, right? Like, I'm sure you're familiar with that, especially because that was a part of Kung Fu Zombies, right? Which we can talk
mhm.
about a little bit later, but to see that you could literally see, like, sh swimming pool size holes in the ground. Um, so it's a really special place to know. Yeah. Do you ever ask your parents about, like, any stories or, like, history?
Um, we grew up with unsolicited stories,
Mm.
especially about the war. Uh, if we wanted to know other things like how did mom and dad meet or something, um, that's when we have to ask. But then even then it's really short. Oh, we lived in the same village or something, you know? Um, so not a lot. What I know about, how life was back then before the war or during the war when they were just trying to, survive. I learned from like movies, like Hmong movies.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think that I wonder if it's too hard for them to talk about because even when when our parents talk about the war, it's a kind of almost sugar coated version. Yeah. Um, we don't really hear about you know, like the really like traumatic things that happened while they were running away or while they were hiding in the jungles or anything. We would hear about like, yeah, we'll hear like, oh, this person died or this person was shot or whatever, but like it's like one sentence. And then like, they would go on to tell you about how they were sleeping in the jungles and they would hear like the gibbons, you know, at night and they're like really scared or whatever because they didn't know what that was or yeah.
They probably thought it were like ghosts.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, gibbons, but whatever whatever, 'cause it's the jungles, so it's like whatever animal that they haven't, you know, met or don't have a name for.
Mhm. Do you see yourself ever going to Lao?
So, I did at a point. My mom's family is still there. I before my grandparents died, I definitely wanted to. Um, but then it's really weird because it's like the year that they died, they literally died like a month apart from each other. In Laos, and for some reason, like I felt like I didn't want to anymore
Mm.
because then I felt like I wanted to go for them. I wanted to go see where they lived, and I almost felt like now that they're gone, even though like the uncles are still there, like that part of me is gone.
Mm.
You know?
Mhm.
And I mean, I guess I do still want to, just to like go see it.
Mhm.
But then also because I am disabled, I feel like it would be harder for me to go.
Right.
Yeah, definitely would be hard for me to go up to the mountains to see my mom's family.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, like, something to consider, and yeah, to think about how difficult physically it is to, like, travel to Laos, right? Even if you are able-bodied, like, you're still like, there's not pavement everywhere, right? And you're dealing with
Mhm.
mud and dirt and jungle, and that's one of the reasons why my parents don't even like to go back for so long because they're very used to American
Mm,
conveniences, right? Like, my mom's like, "I
right.
need AC." But one thing that I'd like to share with you is so my grandma died a little over 20 years ago now. She died in 2000, and I was very close to her. I think about her every day, and I invoke her memory and, like, a lot of what I do. And when I went to Laos and I met my aunt, who is my mom's only sibling there, she reminded me exactly of my grandma. And, like, now I feel like that love has just, like, extended to her, and it's amazing when you see and meet family that you've never met before, and you're like, "Wait, you look exactly like my uncle in the
Mhm.
US," and then it's like, it just kinda strikes you that, like, your family is very big and expansive, uh,
Right.
which can be daunting, but also it's, can be exciting. Like, to connect with people you only know on Facebook.
Right, exactly. It's funny that you bring that up because my grandma, um, she also died about 20 years ago. My paternal grandma. She lived with us, And like when she died, they were having issues with getting a visa for my eldest aunt to come over to America because she was the only one left in Laos of my grandma's kids. And my grandma was dying, so they were having issues and my dad was just like, screw it, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna go get her. Sadly, the day that they landed in Minnesota was the day my grandma passed. Um, but she looked exactly like my grandma,
Mhm.
you know? Um, and so, like, I felt, what you were saying that, it there was an extension of love, towards her because she looked exactly like my grandma.
Mhm.
Um,
Does she sound
but
like her too?
I don't believe that she did.
Okay, because my
I
aunt
don't I don't think
sounded
so.
just like my grand
Yeah. Yeah. But see, I don't know, maybe it's a Hmong thing, to not be so close to your siblings, or maybe it's or like an ancient Hmong thing or whatever, traditional Hmong thing, whatever. Or maybe it was because they spent so much time apart, right? Because she's my dad's eldest sister,
Mhm.
and my dad was one of the youngest. So, like, there was such an age gap. She was probably already married off before my, dad could even, like, remember her.
Right, and had to and left the family home, right?
Right. So that, like, she recently passed, and my dad heard, and my aunts who lived here, they heard, but no one told us. And so I was really devastated because it was like, so many of these people that I knew, and it's like, um I don't know. It's like, do you kind of feel like even though you're not close to somebody, like um, there's just this love that you have for them?
Well,
Like even though we're like oceans apart, like the love is connected. It's there, and I was really devastated when I heard that she passed, and she had passed months before I found out.
mm,
And so, like, I do, like, want to go back t I I see, I keep saying want to go back even though I was never there, um, just because that's how my parents, they talk about Laos. They say
go
going
home.
back.
Yeah.
Right, right. I do wanna go to Laos, to see, who's left of my family before, like, I don't get to see them anymore.
Mm.
Because it was really devastating to hear of, the passing of people that I did meet and I loved. Um,
Yeah.
and so like it is on my bucket list. We'll see, when it happens. If it happens, it will. I'm I'm gonna put like a 5-year mark on it.
Okay.
3 years.
Well, I know we share a lot of tragic history.
Yeah.
And it's important for us to share those, right? Because a lot of it will get erased, right? Because
Right.
you're like, second generation. I'm actually 1.5 generation, so even me, like I don't know a lot. So it's like imagine like people who are younger than us and they don't get to hear these, right? Maybe they don't get to hear it from somebody that they relate to and connect with, and to also to hear it in English, right? Like
Mhm.
move through all of our different languages, I think is really important. So thank you so much for sharing. But let's pivot and talk a little bit more about our joys and passions and creativity. So I want to tell the audience a little bit about how we met. So last fall, some of my friends and I organized a virtual bun called Our Mother's Souans. And Souan is the Lao word for garden. And it was really that simple. We invited a bunch of Lao diaspora women to come and play with us and share things. And one of the very first events we planned was my girl Noi. We asked her to come on and just insult people in Laos. And we promoted it, and our mutual friend Mooks linked you to it because she knew that you wanted to curse some people, some Thai people out.
No, it actually wasn't like that at all.
No?
It was no. Okay, so the way I saw it was I did see it through Mux.
Oh,
But it was just she put it out on Facebook that this was happening or something. Um and I remember I first heard about our mother's one because I follow Sudavan
oh,
on
got
Instagram.
uh-huh.
And I saw that she was doing a workshop, which I totally meant to make it to, but I never did. Um,
Oh, you would have loved it.
yes. Well, I mean, like it's recorded, right?
It's recorded, yeah, so we'll have
Okay,
to dig it up for you so you can
right.
watch it, yeah.
Yeah. But then I saw the one for that Noi was doing. I really want to meet her. By the way, she sounds so cool.
She just had a
Well,
baby
oh really?
months ago.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, and that day I was just, really frustrated because I really did want to cuss out some Thai people. um, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to like, I see this thing, and I know it's loud, but I was like, let me see if I can pick up something I can just, throw at these Thai people. So I joined and I'm saying that did Noi ever like send out that PDF? Because
No! Thank you for
yeah, I was
reminding us because I know, like, she has it handwritten. I'm just gonna ask her to take a picture,
right,
because we need the curriculum, right?
right. Because like, I mean, I'm listening to her, but like, okay, she said the words like once or twice, and I don't speak Lao, so like, I'm gonna need to know how it's spelled. I'm gonna need to like listen to how it's said a few times.
Yeah,
So,
to hear the
yeah,
tones.
right.
Question, do your parents speak Lao?
Not necessarily, like,
Okay.
they, do every, they say, like they drop words every now and then, like, when I was a kid, they called each other "Metao" and, "Patao."
Okay.
Uh, Hmong people, every Hmong person uses the word "Hongnan."
Hongnam, okay.
Yeah, um, yeah, we don't I guess, like, Hmong people, when they were in, like, the mountains, there wasn't, like, running water to, like, use the bathroom, so,
Mm.
when I think it was, like, when they, got to the refugee camp, they learned the word "Hongnam." So, like, everyone calls it the bathroom "Hongnam."
Right, because that's the
Yeah,
first bathroom they encountered.
right.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
No, I was just wondering because, like, if we were to get you this PDF, I was wondering if your parents would understand.
Oh, I think my dad would.
He's gonna have so many questions, I think.
No, I think my dad would, and I think my dad would, be very amused because, like, my parents do curse. My dad curses,
Mhm.
but it's funny when they curse,
Yeah.
Um, but with, like, curse words in Hmong, like, maybe it's because I'm American and we don't hear it enough, but, like, the common ones that we do hear, it's so vulgar that we don't say it?
Okay.
Oh.
Now I'm very interested. Like, I need to hear something. Like, what is something that you hear, like, your mom saying to you in the back of your
No, okay, there's literally this one time my mom called my sister a bitch in Hmong, and I was like, "Oh my god." You know?
and will you can you repeat it for us, or is it so vulgar?
I would rather not.
I got you.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's really funny.
But yeah, my dad would probably get a kick out of it.
Mhm.
Uh, He'll probably be like, "Who taught you that? How do you know that word?" But yeah, well, but he does know that I do um watch Thai dramas, so he'll probably think I picked it up from there or something.
That's true, yeah, some of the curses are the same. Like,
Hmm.
usually people call each other, like, dog, right? Dog face, "You're dumb as a dog,"
Hmm.
or they threaten you with their feet, and
Right.
that's what Noi was doing. Noi was like, "Eat my feet, lick my feet, you
Right.
wish I'm gonna kick you with my feet."
Yes.
That's funny. So, another place where I saw you besides our mother's swans, which was really, really fun, is on the stage, right? You are an tour comedian. I saw you in, speaking of Mooks, her production, Kung Fu Zombies, which I just want to say was incredible to see, like to go to this really cool theater to see Saimokta's Lao ass name, to see, like, all these various Asian actors, see, like, my friend on stage, to see the word "jai" projected, it gave me so much. It was, like, very invigorating and, it was, a certain look back on our history, but also with, like, a futuristic uh, turn to it. So it just left me thinking and wondering so many things, and I have been wanting to connect with Mooks and talk to her more about it. But I would love to hear about your experience. Well, one, like, how did you get involved with the stage? And how did you become cast in Kung Fu Zombies?
um, I um I got I became involved because theater moo and I've always been a fan of the theater, of acting, of performing arts, you know. Um, and so I like before pre-pandemic, I was following like theater moo wherever they went, with their shows and everything. With Kung Fu Zombies, there was because I'm disabled, I didn't think that I could, be in that show, right? Because I knew there was gonna be a lot of movement, a lot of kung fu. Um, so I didn't audition at first when they had the audition call for it. Um, but I really wanted to be in it because during the reading of it, there was um a Hmong ghost, if you remember the Hmong ghost, the Hmong soldier.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and that character alone meant so much to me, like, I wanted to be that. I wanted to play that role, you know? Um, which in hindsight probably is why I did play a ghost in, um in the show, um, but I really wanted to play that role because that wasn't just to me a soldier that was left behind during the war, right? Um it represented everyone who was left behind during the wartime, and I as a person with a disability, for sure I would have been left behind, you know.
Mm.
Um and so I really wanted to play that role.
Mm.
But then of course Chufu got it, which he played it phenomenally. I love him. Um, but like I was telling anybody who would listen after the auditions had already happened. I was telling Lily, telling Crystal, who is the executor, um, artist. director at Moo. She just left Moo recently. Um, and I was telling Looks, right, that I really wanted to be in the show, like literally, like I just make me a zombie in the background or something. I don't care. I just want to be in this show. And so they're like, you know, we are looking for a what is it? A artist in training, I think it was called. Did you want to an actress in training or whatever? If you want to come audition for it, to be in the show, I'm like, yes, yeah. So I came in and I auditioned and they accepted me. Um, I think that's just how I experienced it, right? I think what on Theater Move side was because I had said that I wasn't sure I was right for the show because, of my disability. They they reword what or rethought their plans for, accessibility or how can we make it so that everyone, can, be a part of it or something like that. You would actually have to ask Mux, but something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, one, I applaud you for just being so forthright and saying what you want, right? And the importance of that character for you, even though you didn't get it, but ultimately to be a part of this show. And also, I think it says a lot about the theater and the production that they are willing to rewrite, right? To create accessibility for the most marginalized people because we know that when you do create accessibility for the marginalized, everybody benefits, right?
Right.
Like people always talk about the sidewalk
Mhm.
curves, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's really dope, and I know that, like, Minnesota and Minneapolis, especially, it is a very progressive city, and it's so cool that it's populated with so many Southeast Asian diaspora that, like, you see people, like, in government, in the arts, running organizations, which, like, I grew up in a much smaller Southeast Asian community, smaller Lao community, and so I never saw those things growing up. So, what was that like for you to grow up in an area where you are experiencing or seeing people from your culture and doing incredible things?
You know, I almost feel like we're kind of in a bubble ish here, because everything is here, right? Like, and when I say here, I literally mean St. Paul, because like even in Minneapolis, right? People are like, let's go to this Asian store in Minneapolis. And I'm like, why would I do that when I live within like 5 miles of like three different Asian grocery stores, Um, but especially like Southeast Asian, right? You just go down university and you have your pick of like your pho restaurant, or your Thai restaurant, Um, so like it made me I don't know, oblivious to like the world outside of St. Paul, because I had everything I needed here.
Mhm.
And so when people outside of St. Paul are like, "Oh, we don't have this or we need this or da da da," and I'm like, "What do you need?" I don't understand, you know? Um, for an example, like, I didn't for a really long time, even as an adult in my 20s, I didn't understand the importance of having representation in media,
Mm.
having Asian representation in media because I live where I live, it's like I feel like I feel pretty represented here,
Mhm.
Um And also, like, if I wanted to see Asian people, like, we have the internet, go watch a K-drama, you know? Um, so, like, I didn't understand it, but, it actually took an activist, explaining it, like, yes, we have these, Asian media from Asia that we can watch, but they're not American. They're not experiencing things the way we are, and experiencing, you know, people of different races the way we are, you know. Um, so like, and then I thought about it some more, right? I'm like, that is right. Like, they're right because, every time I saw an Asian person on my TV unprompted, I was more engaged. Like, I grew up watching Mad TV as a kid, and, like,
With Bobby Lee.
right, I remember the days before Bobby Lee, but I remember that I was more engaged when I saw Bobby Lee on the screen, you know?
Mhm.
Um, or, like, how, um, I feel like the first American movie I ever saw was Hook, um, and okay, so I did because I don't know, I didn't know that there were other Asian people when I was, like, 3, right? I didn't know that there were other Asian people outside of Hmong, Lao, Thai, Vietnamese, and, like, Chinese, you know? And I was watching and I was looking at, Dante Bosco as Rufio, and I'm 3 years old, I'm thinking, "He doesn't look Hmong, but is he Lao? Is he Thai? I've never met a Vietnamese person, but is he that?"
Uh-huh.
You know? Um, and, like, that still stuck with me at, like, 3 years old, Things like that, like, just seeing the Asian person and, like, feeling, you know, for lack of a better word, happy or proud that they are there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, just a little satisfied that somebody
Right.
tried, right? Because
Right.
that took
Right.
planning. It really took
Mhm.
planning because when people don't intentionally think about that, it's just all white people.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so, I felt really represented here. I feel like I have everything I need here. Um, there's a lot that, could change, because we are where we are and I am who I am as a person with a disability living where like half of the year is snow, Um, but then also I'm like, where can I move to that has as much resources for me that I have here in the Twin Cities,
Maybe Europe.
I don't know, I don't think so.
Oh.
Have you heard about, the accessibility issues, right now during the, Paris Olympics?
Oh,
Para Olympics?
no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I heard Paris isn't very accessible. So, like, even though, they're having the Para Olympics there, like, there are so many places that, like, the athletes cannot, access because, of accessibility issues in Paris.
Mm, right. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
a lot of European cities are much older too.
Right. And also, like, I don't know how I'll survive. Like, it might be accessible, but like, I'm gonna have to learn to cook, and I can't cook. But I have not heard good things about the food in Europe.
Well, I mean, we have good food, we eat good food. Um, I think we eat, like, the best food in the world, honestly. So, when
Right.
people talk about, like, other places and how the food is good, I'm like, "Have you been to Thailand?"
Mhm. Well, like, even when we were in Thailand, right? Like, I because um all the Thai restaurants here in the Twin Cities, they're either owned by Lao people, Hmong people, or like the occasional like white person or something,
Mm,
you know? Um and so like I've liked the food in like the Thai restaurants, you know? But as Mux has pointed out to me, they're not really Thai, you know?
mhm.
And the first time I went to Thailand, like I I did eat some Thai food, but I didn't eat a lot. I ate a lot of like East Asian food.
Hmm.
Because apparently like Southeast Asians or Thai people love East Asians. So like East Asian food and East Asian pop culture is everywhere
Yeah, like
in Bangkok at
Korean
least.
barbecues and hot
Mhm.
pots, like the sushi buffets, those are
Right.
really popular, like, especially if you're eating in a restaurant, right? But if
Yeah.
you're buying something from a street vendor or something,
Right.
it's gonna be, like, a little a little more Thai.
No, I was just saying I do enjoy the street foods more. Um, of course, Southeast Asia is Southeast Asia and Thailand is Thailand. And so like it also wasn't very accessible. So like
Mm,
um the food chains that I did go to had to be like the East Asian, places because that they're like everywhere in the malls. And the
right.
malls are totally accessible, but not very many places were. You know? Um but I did whenever I could, I would, like, frequent the food stalls outside, when I could, or, like, go to the Thai restaurants that I could go into, um, but I found that it wasn't Thai food that I liked, you know? It was Lao food. It was Lao food, and, like, remember when we met in Thailand and I told you I'm looking for Lao food?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I realize that if I'm going to find what I like, it's not gonna be Thai food, you know? Um, and I'm so sorry to the Thai people that are listening right now. Um,
It's all good, because
but yeah,
this is a hot take for some people, but Lao food is better than Thai food.
yeah,
Thai food, especially like Central Thai, tends to be really sweet,
yes.
creamy, and I feel like it's like even heading more so because that's like the Western palate. But
Mhm,
when you go to Lao, like Lao people, I've heard this word used, we eat funky, right?
mhm,
Like all sorts of flavors and senses. We eat like anything, like all sorts of mushrooms, right? Many different kinds of vegetables, a lot of like interesting preparations like steaming and fermenting. And I think it's just much more interesting. So I fully agree with I want Lao food usually, like tamakung, right? Papaya salad,
mhm.
any day.
Right. No, and the crazy thing is I am a Western palate kind of bitch. I am. There are so many like Asian candy, Asian foods that I will not eat, you know?
Hmm,
Like Asian people love chicken feet. I don't eat chicken feet,
guilty, guilty.
you know? And things like that, right? I'm not an adventurous eater, you
Mhm,
know? But I do know that like I guess it's because that's how I grew up, right? You like especially with like papaya salad, it's like Hmong people, spent so much time in Laos that
mhm,
we know papaya salad to be the way Lao people make it.
mhm.
Um, and then we started having it the way Thai people make it. And literally, so many people have said, that maybe they don't know which is Lao and which is Thai, but they know that they like the ones that are darker.
Yeah,
They know that they like the ones that are gonna make your breath stink. Mhm. Mhm.
and yeah,
Yeah.
darker, maybe some pieces of crab floating
Right.
around in there.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, and so, like, that's what you're gonna get when you go to, like, the Hmong flea markets, um, and so, like, I remember, like, literally, like, I was telling everybody, like, "Thank you for telling me, um, that they call Lao people Isan in Thailand, because I was going to go around looking for Lao food and not gonna find it, you know?" Um, yeah, like, I finally found one. I was like, "Oh my god, thank goodness." You know?
What did you end up
Um,
eating? Because I don't know if you ever told me what you had.
I don't even remember really. I just remember I definitely got papaya salad.
Yeah.
And I only got it because, I mean, of course, I saw that it said that this was Isan food, but then because it was called, like, papaya salad from the Pramban or something like that.
Oh, it
I'm like,
had the strips, right? The
yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, okay, now I know that's Lao, so I'm gonna get that, you know?
Yeah. Have you been
Yeah.
to Gai Noi?
Um, I've been meaning to go, but I haven't.
Because they serve Luang Prabang style tamagoong there. It's good.
Mm.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah?
definitely get that when you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Thailand more because you had already mentioned it up. So Thailand is the 3rd place where we met. I,
Yes.
just back in December, right around Christmas
December, yep.
time,
Yep, around
right?
Christmas. It
Um,
was the place we met in
in
person.
person, yeah,
Yeah.
at one of the malls. I can't remember what mall it was. It was very, very tall, and the floors were named after cities of the world. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us what that was your 2nd trip to Thailand, so tell us what were you there for?
You just want me to talk about my, the parade, don't you?
I mean, as much as you want.
Um, I went because the second time I went the first time I went to was because I wanted to see this parade, whose name is Bright. I don't wanna say his full name because it's really long and, there's many syllables, and Hmong people do not do all that
Okay,
syllables.
while you talk, I'm gonna look up what the name.
Yes. Um, yes. Just look up Bright Thai actor, you'll find him. Um, but yeah, so I the first time I went was because he dropped an album with his old agency, and I bought said album because I bought the album, and it was, like, really expensive. And so, like, they had this thing where if you buy the album, you can put your receipt into a lottery, and, if you get picked, you get to go to, his 1-hour show, and it's an exclusive show, and you have to get picked. And so I bought the album, got picked, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm in Minnesota. I've never left this country in my life. What do I do?" You know? Um so there was a lot of planning. I was so psyched. Like, when I saw my name on there, like, I was at work and I was so, like, excited and happy. I was hyperventilating. I went into my boss's office and I was just like hyperventilating. She's like, "Okay, is this good or bad? Like, what's going on?" And I'm like, and I told her, and I'm like, "I'm gonna need some time off." Um, yeah. So, I got to go, and it was really, what is it? It was really difficult because of, communication. Um, literally, like, I got, the notice, of right around the time when we were doing Kung Fu Zombies, And so it was like I was after, like, tech rehearsal or whatever, it's like 10 PM and I'm on the phone calling long distance to Thailand. You know, I'm emailing people, DMing people. I even DM'd the president of the agency at one point, and they never got back to me, you know? And then when I got there, I thought that, okay, it's okay if they don't get back to me as long as they saw my message, you know? But when I got there, it seems that they did not, they didn't do anything to prepare for me, you know? And thankfully I had someone there to, translate for me and talk to, somebody. Um, so that like at the end they accommodated me and, they uh, um, you know, set me up, you know. So the second time I was afraid of it happening again. So of course I was again like DMing people, emailing people, calling long distance, Um and so and they were more responsive because at this time around he had his own agency, you know. So they were more responsive, but when I got there, it was really dumb because they were um responsive, but when I got there, it seems they didn't do anything either. You know? Um and this time was worse because I had to pay for everything this time around, I didn't win anything. And it was like during Christmas, so I missed Christmas. Um but yeah, they didn't do anything really. Like the best they did was hire people who could speak English, you know. Um and they had the fan meeting. So in December it was a fan meeting, and they had it in a very accessible venue, which I was so surprised and you know, proud of to be in that venue. I spent so many days there. Just because I was like my hotel was across the street. I spent a lot of time there. So I was really like, amazed at how great the venue was. But when we got to the concert itself, it was and like the first half was okay. When I emailed them, I said, one thing that I am very concerned about is that people are going to stand up and I'm not going to be able to see the show, And you know, in hindsight, I should have realized that they really weren't listening to me because emailing them paragraphs, and then they're like emailing me like one or two sentences, Um, and the first half was okay because everybody sat down, sat. Everyone stayed seated. Um, but then the second half, like a rapper came out, one of his rapper friends came out, and they were invited to stand up. And then for the rest of the show, no one sat back down.
Mm.
Or, yeah. So that happened. I'm still kind of recovering from that. Um, yeah, because like I remember the next day I was talking to you about it. And I was really sad about it, Never me your pays, Um, yeah.
Be your own pay. Well, I mean, those are important reflections for Thailand. If you're listening, you are
Mhm.
not as accessible, right? Thinking about transportation and also venues that people are attending and also communication, right?
Right.
That's a place where be mindful, especially if you're communicating with people who have needs and people who are coming thousands of miles away and who are working through different languages too. I think that there should have been way more care in that
Right.
situation. Like it should have been an honor to have you there, like somebody, a big fan coming from Minnesota, never left the country. It
Mhm.
really missed an opportunity to make that special for you and also just to for themselves, like to show that they care about all the fans.
Right. Right. It really, again made me like really appreciate what I had here. I have a whole community that loves me, that like, I'll just show up and they're like, all, hey, how are you? They're happy that I'm there. Um, Even like so the second time when I went to Thailand, I wanted to see one of the masks dance shows, like the opera. I wanted to see that. But because again transportation was so crap. It was okay because my wheelchair is collapsible, yeah. So like I can get into a regular taxi. Um but I was alone the second time. I was kind of alone half the time the first time too. Um but I was alone, and I didn't really know, the place that I was going to go to. So I opted to get a taxi, but traffic was so bad that like I missed the whole show, you know. But then recently, the Thai Council of Minnesota here, they invited masked dancers to come do a show here.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to that because I'm like, okay, I need to make it up to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And they really hooked me up,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I didn't buy VIP, but they gave me VIP anyways. Yeah, and, like, they let the dancers know, to interact with me, and I'm like, "Oh my god, why did I go all the way to Thailand?" You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm it's unfortunate that your trip was mediocre, I guess to say.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got to meet, right? Even if only briefly. And I wish that I had more time to spend with you, like if I had known more about your trip, because I would have loved to do some of those things with you. And also just like curious about yeah, like how to navigate the city. Um so well, what else did you enjoy while you were there? I know there were
Um,
a lot of limitations, but was there anything that you enjoyed?
I well, because I've always been told that, Southeast Asia was not accessible, and they were right. I really enjoyed the parts that were accessible, or like where they did try, right? Like I rode the bus once when I was in Bangkok, and what they did was they didn't have like a lift, but like there was someone who would come out and put a lift out, and then I would get on,
Mhm.
you know. I thought that was really cool. I went to the mall a lot.
Mhm.
Um, it's really funny. Like, um, I don't really listen to like Christmas music at all, even around Christmas time. But it was like when I went to Thailand, I couldn't get away from it. Even in the underground, um, places where like you're waiting for the train, like it's Christmas music in December all the time.
Mhm. They took
Yeah.
the commercialized Christmas to another
Mhm.
level.
Right. Yes. Um, I really enjoyed that the people were really nice. Um, I guess, because you don't see people in wheelchairs often, in outside, just roaming around. I guess um they recognize that I'm a tourist. Yeah, they're trying to spend money in their country because they were really nice. Like I would be, just trying to cross the street, and like a biker taxi who isn't taking anywhere like would like stop and like push me across the street or something.
Mhm.
Um there was actually this one other time where I um I was at the mall. I was at Emporium. Um and my this was my first trip in Thailand. And I decided I was gonna go watch a movie because I my hotel was across the street from Emporium. So I was gonna go watch a movie and I caught the like 8 p.m. showing of Mansuan. Um it's a historical movie. Um I caught that show and I got when I left, it was like I guess, you know, the mall closes at 10 p.m. and like by 10 p.m. people are out of there. So like we get out of the movie theater and it's completely dark, you know? And I'm literally like, "Oh my god, this looks like a horror movie right now." You know? It was like a scene out of a horror movie and I'm like, "Okay, what do I do?" So I went to someone who was wearing a uniform, like a security guard or somebody, and like I'm kind of just miming and kind of speaking English, like I'm just trying to get back to my hotel, Ibis. So then a guy um gets me to the other side of the mall and then he like kind of just like lets me go. And I'm still in the mall. So I'm still kind of freaking out cuz I am also very directionally challenged. But then I meet these two girls who they were Thai but then spent time in New York.
Mhm.
Um so then they spoke English and they helped get me out of the mall. And but then I was kind of feeling like I didn't want to like take up all their time or anything. So then like they got me out the mall and I'm like, okay, I think I can get myself back to my hotel. I couldn't. So I then again they left and then I went to another guy who was also wearing a uniform and I'm like, I'm just trying to get back to my hotel Ibis. And so then a man, the man that he was talking to who wasn't wearing a uniform, just was taking me back to my hotel and he was pushing me and it was like 10 p.m. or something. And I'm kind of freaking out, like, oh my God, like, okay, like either he's like really helping me or he's gonna kidnap me, you know? I'm like so scared. So the whole time in my mind, I'm like, if you're a good person, you'll meet good people. If you're a good person, you'll meet good people. You know, and I'm saying that to my mind like the whole time. He pushes me all the way to my hotel. And I'm like, oh my God, thank goodness. Thank goodness you're not a killer. I turned around, I gave him 100 baht.
Okay.
Yeah, I gave him 100 baht and he was like, no, no, no. And I'm like, no, 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 take it.
Oh.
I was really generous. Like I tipped almost everybody at least 100 baht,
Mhm.
you know. But yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, like, my dead grandparents were totally looking out for me that night.
Yeah, that's a big risk.
Yeah. Uh,
Like, "My life is in your hands." Like, he's
yes.
pushing you anywhere he.
Yes. Yes. But, like, you know, it's been about a year since I first went to Thailand. I do kinda miss it. I don't know. I definitely when I came back, I felt really lonely,
Same.
you know? Yeah.
I was very
It's like
sad. I was lonely, I was hungry.
mhm. Yeah, because it's like, you come back and it's like, I mean, I don't know how you feel there in New York, but literally here in St. Paul, it was like, where are all the people? You know?
It's a weird juxtaposition in New York because it's like, I'm in my studio, like, by
Mhm.
myself. I feel like I'm alone in this 400 square feet, but if I go outside, there's just people everywhere.
Mhm. Yeah.
But it's still, like, loneliness, like, is different, right? Like,
Right.
even though there's people everywhere, it's not like they're looking out for each other or, like, even trying to interact with each other. It's kind of like trying to avoid each other.
Yeah. And it's like because I'm I'm here in St. Paul, and there's a huge Hmong population here, you know? Um, when I first went to Thailand, I was like, I am not impressed with all these Asian people that I'm seeing. I'm not impressed with all these food that I can get at the Hmong flea market, you know? But then I came back and I'm like, where are all the people who look like me? When you go to Thailand, they're everywhere,
Mhm.
you know? And it was like, um, even when it was like 10 p.m., there were people like still hanging out in the streets, you know?
Mhm.
But like here in St. Paul, especially, it's like 8 p.m., it's like maybe you'll see three people walking the same direction you are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot more is, like, how in the West, people are really obsessed with inside of their house. The inside of the
Mhm.
house has to look great and be decorated because that's where you spend your time, and then you go elsewhere, and it's like nobody is ever in their house. They're always, like, in the backyard or on the street or, like, with a neighbor, and so they don't
Right.
care about, like, what's on the inside of the house, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, "Hmm." I wanna be outside more.
Right. Yeah. No, because it was like, in Thailand, it's like 10 p.m., people are still out. Like, I still feel safe
Mhm,
outside at night,
mhm,
you know? But like, 9, 10 p.m., if I'm still out, like, I am feeling threatened. Even though I'm alone, I am scared,
mhm,
you know?
mm,
I was like, I miss that feeling.
mm. Well, I'll just drop this here. I will be going in December.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
right, like, honestly, I wanna spend every winter there for, like, at least a month. So if you wanna go, holler, meet me there.
Well,
Uh
where are you gonna go though?
Huh?
Where are you gonna go though?
I mean, definitely Bangkok for a little. I
Mhm.
have a friend who she just retired, actually. She went to Thailand after I had come back, and she went there for 2 weeks, and she fell in love with it, and now she's moving there. She lived in
Oh.
Brooklyn for, like, 30 at least 30 years, and she's selling everything right now, and she's gonna be in Thailand the next time I go.
Yeah, no, the first time I went to Thailand, it was like, everything was so cheap and everything was so nice, and I felt so at home there
Mhm.
that I'm like, "I wanna move here,"
Right?
you know? I literally was looking at real estate there, you
Yeah, you
know?
could totally afford it.
Right, even though I really kinda can't, but I'm like, I kinda can, you know?
Figure it out. I feel like you could do something
Right,
remote, a little something, something. You
right,
could work, like, 1 day a week.
right. I was totally thinking about it. Um, but then, the second time I went, and it was still good. I still really liked it. I still felt at home,
Mhm.
but it felt more like home.
Mm.
In the way where it's like, do you know about like the Hmong soccer tournaments every July 4th?
No.
So every like
Wait, yes, I do, because
yeah.
my friend I used to live in California in Sacramento, and one of my friends
Mhm.
used to play. He was, like, really, really good, so I think he used to go to that tournament.
Yeah. It's really popular, especially in the Hmong community. Like people come from all over to come play here in
Yeah.
Minnesota, you know? Um, the second time around, I felt like every day was just a soccer tournament, which was still good, because, it felt like home and it felt like, yeah, it felt like I really could be here.
Mhm.
But like the magic of, being somewhere new kind of wore off, you know?
Yeah. I feel you because, like, I love being there. I get to be, like, a different person there. Good
Mhm.
and bad because it's like I get to like here I'm always like I'm Lao, I'm Asian. I feel like I have to tell people that all the time. And over there there's like no context for me to like really talk about that. Like I'd be saying I'm American, right? Like I'd
Mhm.
actually be
Right.
describing myself differently, but one thing that I did reflect on is that because I'm very political, right? I'm very, like, leftist, and, like, I have a community of those kind of people here in the States that I can, like, do that rah-rah with, and over there, it's like, I don't even know how to have conversations like that, because it was, like, December, and, the genocide in Gaza had already full-fledged, and so I'd be, like, on Instagram and, like, be really tuned into that, and then I'd, like, get off and be in Thailand and be like a child on vacation almost. It
Yeah.
was like it was at times I felt frustrated because I'm like, "I need to talk to somebody about, like, serious things," and I didn't have the capacity to do that.
Right, exactly. Same with me, right? Like, I do like that everyone was really helpful and really nice, but like that was because I was on vacation.
Mhm,
If I lived there and you're like a random person trying to push me somewhere every day or whatever, I'm gonna get so annoyed.
mm,
Um, because literally it's like that's what I get annoyed at here, right? And that's why that's one of the reasons why the person that I was with the first time, who, advocated for me at the event, she and I are not friends anymore,
mhm,
you know?
mhm,
Because then I felt like they're only seeing my disability,
mhm,
not seeing me as a person.
mhm,
And they're not necessarily like gauging what I can and cannot do, or they're not thinking about my autonomy.
mhm,
You know?
mhm,
It's like, even if I drop something on the floor, like, they'll pick it up for me. Even if I need something that's, like, next to me or whatever, and I can just grab it myself, they'll do it for me? And it's nice for maybe, like, a week if I don't know these people, but it's like, after a while and you're seeing that these people, like, are just going to be doing things and they don't really care if, like, you or not necessarily that they don't care, but it's like in their minds you should be thankful, you know,
mhm,
that like you literally just get to and not do anything.
mhm,
Like, I have autonomy over myself. My wheelchair, number one, is also like, an extension of my body. So it's like, you like insisting on pushing me everywhere or, wherever. It's like, are we that close? It's,
mhm,
yeah. And it's like, you don't, growing up in like an able bodied world, I almost feel like I also don't really have the language to talk about this, right? And so then to be, in Thailand and trying to like convey to this friend, who is also from America,
mm,
um, that if I need help, I will ask. And yet again, everything, she's just doing it. She's pushing me everywhere. She's getting my food for me. She decides that she's gonna pay and then I can just pay her back, you know? I'm just, ugh, yeah. Yeah, it's just things like that you don't have the language for, and you don't really have, like, the support, you know, I over there.
mm.
I don't have the support here either, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this when we were in Thailand, right? But it's like, you're often like working against like the status quo and like normative thinking. And I think a lot of people here and most of the world still look at disabled people from a deficit, right? And like from what you described, even pity, right?
Mhm.
This idea that like, oh, I pity you. I'm gonna just do all these things for you without asking consent and boundaries, which I think we're just not even used to doing that regardless, right?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
when it comes to people who have different identities and abilities, like we do that even less and we just like assume that we know what's good for people. Um
Mhm.
so I mean, I think that's really significant that you bring that up, right?
Right.
Because I think it speaks to, like, the liminality that we experience because we're not really from there, we're not, like, totally from here, but we
Yeah.
do get that position of, like, seeing both, and it's, like, it's
Right.
it's hard because you're like, "Do I wanna be over here? I love it there."
Right.
Also, like,
Right.
same person there, and also,
Right.
that's what I'm thinking about too. Because 'cause I'm like, it's very idealistic, right?
Mhm.
Thailand, it's so
Right.
fun, but also, like, I mean, when I think about it, I'm like, I'm not American, I'm not nothing
Mhm.
like my cousins over there.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, and we're talking about Thailand, but like I'm saying, like I don't have like I don't have people around me that are 100% like respecting my autonomy here either. Like
Yeah.
random people here are also like randomly just trying to push me into, target when I'm like 20 feet away,
Like,
or like,
strangers, you mean?
right, strangers, or like someone who like is talking to somebody on the corner of the street and they see me going somewhere and they beelines it to like come and open the door for me or something. And they're like across the street,
Mhm.
you know,
Mm,
or whatever.
yeah.
So things like that. But it's like that's kind of the problem that I ran into when, I was going to the event, right? Because when I was going to the event and I was telling them that I'm in a wheelchair, that these are the concerns that I have. Um, like I just to the organizers, they thought, okay, well, our venue is very accessible, so you don't have to worry about that, and we don't have to worry about that. We're done.
Mhm, mhm,
And so, like, the only thing that they really did was, hire people who spoke English,
mhm.
you know, and I'm seeing that in Thailand, it's literally like the only help a person in a wheelchair needs is to be pushed around. If you don't need me to push you around, then I guess I can't help you or something.
Yeah.
Because that's all that really was there, right? Like people like after I talked to the vice president of the organization of the PA's new agency, he's the president. She's the vice president. She doesn't work there anymore. But I was talking to her, and like after talked to her, and we kind of had a heated argument, kind of afterwards. Then a staff came. She's like, "Do you need me to push you somewhere?" And I'm like, "No," you know. Um, but yeah, it's like their idea is just push someone somewhere or hold somebody with limited mobility's hand when they're like going up the stairs or something,
Mm,
you know? Um, when it's a lot more than that.
mhm.
The place can be as accessible as it is, but it's a place if the people that are putting this show together are not accessible minded, you know, will there will be inaccessible issues. Yeah.
I I I'm just thinking, like, culturally too, like, even, like, with,
Oh,
like, here, like, and I'm thinking about, like, family and, like, you have, like, elders, right? And, like, what does elder care look like? Well, we treat them like babies,
right.
right? So it's like,
Yeah.
um, I don't think we often think enough about creating, like, not just access, but like agency, right? Like people want to be able
Mhm.
to do things for themselves and to be able to use the abilities that they do have, not just like be helpless. And I think, like for me, I learned a lot through like classes, right? So like understanding theory about like disability, justice, and learning about the movement and learning about design and things like that. And I'm so thankful that I was able to take that class before I became a teacher because it really is something that's always stayed with me. And I think that that's something that your average person doesn't ever interact. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like literature and like reading articles about uh, like what what are the different kinds of disabilities, right? What are the different abilities that people do have? What are like even the new technologies, right? And assistive like, devices that people use and or like sign language, right? And how that's another language that anybody can learn. It's not just for somebody who is hard of hearing or hearing impaired. And so I think disability is an area that we really need to look at, right, for everybody's benefit, along with other things like language, right,
Right,
and
right, right.
culture, and so, like, I'm so thankful that, like, you share these stories with me with such clarity and honesty, like, it's like, I'm thankful, like, because then, like, in my realm, right, I can take my, like, perspective in different places and, like, be able to say, like, "This is not accessible because X, Y, and Z," not because, like, "Oh, like, you need a ramp," and, like, now you can
Mhm.
call yourselves accessible, you know?
Right. Yeah. And like that's why that's also why I mean, it wasn't why I wanted to be in Kung Fu Zombies, but after I was in Kung Fu Zombies, like it gave me like this
Mm.
it filled sort of a, a question or a hole inside of me, because, you know, I've always heard, from my family, it's good that you were born here because you would have never survived in Laos. You would not survive in the mountains. Um, but like I got to see myself. I got to play a person with a disability living and thriving and eating people, you know, in Laos,
Yeah.
and I got to survive, you know. I I went in wanting to play a person that didn't survive,
Mm.
but I got to play a person that did, you know, was, one of the badass people that were fighting, fighting for myself and fighting to eat other people,
Yeah, doing choreography.
Right. Yeah. And so like, you know, being in Kung Fu Zombie will always, be a monument, timestamp in my life,
Mm.
you know. And I'm so thankful that I was in it, to show myself, a version of myself that, could have been,
Mm.
and show others a version of what could have been, or what can be, especially in theater. Um, yeah, I guess my goal for like so like I do like comedy, I do stand up or sit down comedy, quote unquote.
Uh-huh.
Um, my goal, my dream, I guess, is to like be performing um consistently with a sign language interpreter.
Mm.
You know, um, it's gonna be something I'm gonna have to work on. I don't even really know. I'm just working on myself and my art right now, but like that's the dream. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I think you just said a really, um, salient word, dream. right? I'm glad I got to hear your story about your connection to Kung Fu Zombies because I didn't know about that before. And it sounds like it was just so transformative, like an experience. And what I'm hearing is like the power of art and the radical imagination, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when you take the time to create art that reflects the world that you want to live in, like,
Mhm.
that much closer to creating that world.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I am so excited to see what else you dream of. And I think this what whoosh. What I heard you say, like one of your goals is to have a sign language interpreter. Like, I think saying that is very powerful, right? And if that is one of your intentions, like, I think there's nothing that's gonna stop you from having that because if you want it, guess guess who else wants it and needs it? A lot of
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
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 Well, how about one last message? Like, what do you wanna tell our future generations, whoever you imagine them to be?
Uh, our future generations. Um, I never really super thought that far ahead. I haven't thought about that far ahead. I guess I would, dare to be different. That's really cliche, but especially when we live in America, it's like literally you are so much more cool when you're not trying to act like the mainstream, you know,
Mm.
white person, honestly, you know? And we are very interesting people, you know? That's why we're the ones getting the grants to do
You gotta show me how to do that because I need Mook's money.
Calm looks.
I need
I don't even know how to do it yet.
I need consulting. Yeah, yeah, dare to be different. I think, yeah, like, people say it, right? But that dare part is key
Mhm.
because it's not easy. Otherwise, we would all be comfortable being our unique selves.
Our unique selves, our differences is our superpower,
Mhm.
you know? That's yeah. Again, examples, that's why, you know, being bilingual is a skill on a resume, you know?
Yeah. My
Yeah.
bilingual people are smarter.
Yes. Until you're bilingual, B BYA, no, BYE, yeah, BYE lingual, um, yeah, you can't word in English or in your native language.
No, we remember we live in the in between.
Yeah.
Monglish, Laolish, those are things.
Yes, yes.
I had such a good time talking to you and hearing all of your thoughtful and humorous stories. And like I said, I can't wait to see what is going to manifest for you in terms of your artistry and the stage. But best believe we'll hear about it.
Yes, I'll let you know, and also I can't wait to see what you do next. I'm always kind of following you around too now. Um, yeah, and I can't wait to see you again.
Yeah, I hope I see you again sooner rather than later, whether it's Minnesota or Thailand.
Yes. Or, if I randomly come to New
New
York.
York.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Again, thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody in the audience for joining us for another episode of Voices from the Laboratory.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good day.